Hi guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing stone soup for you guys. And it goes along with this book. And I'm going to read it to you. But a little thing about this is that this is like collection of all the things that are needed to make the stone soup. And first off, really important, is the stones. So these I just randomly got out inside of the garden, and I'll take you guys on a tour after we're done outside in my yard. What I've been doing while we've been in quarantine. But first, I'm going to go ahead and read this story for you. Okay? So here we go. Stone soup. You got to pay close attention. Really important. Long, long ago, in a faraway land, some soldiers were marching home from war. They were very tired, for they had traveled a great distance. They were also very hungry. The soldiers would have welcomed even a small bowl of soup. But how could they make soup? They had nothing to put into a pot except the stones they found in the road. And who ever heard of stone soup? In the distance, the soldiers saw a small village. They thought about the comfortable beds and the delicious foods they might find there, and they walked a little faster. "I would be happy to get a loaf of warm bread and a nice bed to sleep in," said one soldier. "I would be glad to even get one slice of bread and a warm barn to sleep in," said another. "We will be lucky to find a few stale crusts before we're chased from the village," said the third, because he knew that the townspeople would not want to share what they had with strangers. "Still, we can ask," said the first soldier. "Yes, yes," said the second soldier. "If we do not ask, we will never know." "All right," said the third. "You will ask, then you will know." The townspeople had seen the soldiers coming, and now they were busy hiding their food. They hid their potatoes down in their cellars. They tucked their vegetables under their beds. They stuffed their barley into pillowcases. They hung their meat inside their closets, and they lowered pails of milk down into the wells. At last, all the food in the entire village was hidden. The villagers were inside their houses and waited. When the soldiers arrived, they knocked on the first door they saw. "Could you spare some food and a place to sleep?" they asked. But the villagers said they had no extra beds and too little food for themselves. So the soldiers went to the next house, and the next, and the next. The answer was always the same. There was no food. There was no place to sleep. Then one of the soldiers had an idea. "Good villagers," he called, "since you have no food, perhaps you will let us borrow a large cooking pot. Then we can make a pot of stone soup." "Stone soup?" whispered the villagers. "Who had heard of stone soup?" "This is something we must find out about," whispered the mayor. "Someone bring me a pot quickly." When the pot had been brought to the village square, the soldiers filled it with water and built a fire beneath it. "Finding good soup stones is the most important part," they said. Then they looked and they looked. Finally, each soldier found some nice smooth stones And they put the stones into the pot and brought the water to boil. Then they sniffed. "Something's missing," said the first soldier. "Yes," agreed the second. "But what?" "Salt and pepper," said the third, sniffing the soup. "Yep." Then he turned to the villagers and said, "We know you have no food, but could you find a bit of pepper and some salt? Pepper and salt would bring out the flavor of the soup stones, you know." At once, the mayor's wife disappeared and came back with salt and pepper. "Thank you," said the soldiers as they shook the salt and pepper into the pot. "It smells better already." They all sniffed the soup and plugged up from all the pollen in the air. So you could hear my nose stuffy. But they sniffed it. A good stone soup would have some onions. But since there are none, I guess we'll simply have to do without them. A peasant woman heard the soldier and said, I may have an onion or two." She hurried home. Soon she returned with half a dozen peeled onions, which she dropped into the soup. Here's this guy. Whoop, whoop. "This will be a good soup," said the soldiers. "It's a pity we don't have any salary, but that would be hoping for too much, wouldn't it? After all, we are lucky to find such good soup stones in the first place." A farmer's wife heard this and ran home. In a few minutes, she returned with several stalks of celery, which she cut into small pieces and tossed into the soup. After a while, the first soldier said, "Something's lacking." "There are no carrots," agreed the second one. "But there is no sense of asking for something so no one has, you see," added the third. Then a peasant said, "Carrots? I might just have one or two at home." He ran off to get them. He returned with several crisp orange carrots, which he sliced and put into the soup. They're eating these ones, you know, Miss Gina. Her feet might be that orange because she drinks them. "The stones are cooking nicely," remarked the soldiers. "Just smell that soup. Too bad we don't have a few potatoes. But why wish for something you can't get?" A farmer overheard this and he hurried away. Soon he was back with an arm full of potatoes. The soldiers peeled them and tossed them into the soup. Then the first soldier stirred the soup, saying, "Ooh, it is a bit thin, but since there is no barley to thicken it, we will have to be satisfied." The town miller heard this, and he ran to his mill. Soon he returned with some barley, which he stirred into the soup. "A perfect stone soup," said the first soldier. "If only it were a bit richer," suggested the second soldier. "Too bad we have no milk to stir in." And before long, someone had brought him a bucket of milk for the soup. The third soldier said, "With a bit of meat, it would be just like the soup we made for the king last month. But since there's no meat, we must be content with what we have." What do you think happened? See. The villagers buzzed with excitement. The soldiers had dined with the king. The townspeople ran to their houses and came back with big chunks of meat, which they put into the soup. When at last the stone soup was ready, the soldiers tasted it. "It's thick," said the first. "Ooh, it's rich," said the second. "It is fit for a king," said the third. Now the villagers decided that if the soup were really fit for a king, then it could not be served alone. So they brought out loaves of bread and roasts and barrels of cider. Long tables were set in the village square, and everyone sat down to eat. And all the villagers agreed that the soup was thick, rich, fit for a king. And they could hardly believe it had been made from stones. They ate and drank and danced well into the night. Then they took the soldiers into their homes and let them sleep in the most comfortable beds. In the morning, everyone gathered again in the village square. "Thank you for everything," said the soldiers. "We want to thank you," said the mayor. "You have taught us something important." What do you think it is? I think it's sharing. "Goodbye," called the soldiers as they headed down the road. "Goodbye," called the mayor. "Imagine," whispered the townspeople, "thick, rich soup made from stones. No one will ever believe it. After all, who'd ever heard of stone soup?" It's a cute book, no? This story was important. It's important that we learn to share. Those villagers worked so hard to garden and to work really hard to make those potatoes grow and all the carrots. And right here, I went to the grocery store and I was able to buy these things, but not the stones. So, Miss Camera Lady, Rebecca, is going to walk with me, and I'm going to take you guys over to the garden, show you some of the things that I'm growing, and then we're going to come back to the table and we're going to cut everything up and we're going to dump it inside of the pot. If you want to make it for your whole family, you might want to use a bigger pot just like this, but I'm just going to make a small one, and I'm not going to use meat because, you know, Miss Gina doesn't use meat. Okay, so let's go. Hi guys, so this is some of the things that I planted while we were out. Go ahead and take a look. These guys right here, this is called sage, and it's an herb, and you use it inside of like cooking chicken. It tastes really good with chicken. These guys right here, these are oregano. I use oregano in almost everything, so I planted those. These guys over here, these are flowers. They're going to be calla lilies. They like come up and they flower and bloom. These are some that are dying right now. And then we're going to take you over here. Whoop. Over here I have quite a few things that are edible. This is one of my tomato plants. And it's got, I don't know if you can see right here, but I have some little tiny tomatoes growing. So after it flowers, the bees come, they take that and they pollinate it, and then it grows into a little tiny tomato. And right here I have some groups of basil. I like basil. I like to do a lot of Italian food. This is a jalapeno growing. We make a lot of salsa. These are green onions. You can buy them from the grocery store and stick them in the ground, and the piece on the end will just keep growing. So every day almost I come out here and I just take scissors and I cut them low. See, this one was cut. And I go and I use them. This is going to be yellow cherry tomatoes. This one isn't growing as fast as the other one is. But it is growing. See the yellow leaves? Those are called lobelia, those purple flowers in the back. I don't remember these ones right here, but this guy right there is called a hollyhock. It's going to grow really tall and have flowers all over it. this right here, these are just those wildflowers. So I don't know if you remember, but we put some flowers inside of a little cup and we would water them and put them at the back door at school. That's what the same things is. It's these guys. So they're gonna be flowering. These are jasmine. They smell really good. Some people use them in tea. I just like them because they smell good. And they're gonna vine. Okay, now to the other side. Go. This is another bed that I have of random things. This is a green onion. This is one that we took literally from the grocery store and threw in the ground, and it's gotten this big. These are little tiny seeds that are drying and then they come right off. They fall into the ground and then they make new ones. Over here there's some more oregano. I'm letting this one flower so it can produce seeds, recreate. This right here is mint. Drying out a little bit, and some daisies. Some lavender. I have lots of lavender everywhere. Over here is a plum tree. And then we've been eating for the last week or so these guys. These are called apricots. So we literally are, these are apricots. So we're eating these right now. They're very good. And there's a peach, little tiny peach tree right here. So that's a little tour of my garden. But anyway, let's go back to the table and we'll make some stone soup. So the first thing that they threw in were stones. I found these out in the yard, washed them up really good, and then we're just gonna throw them in the pot. Nice and simple. Next thing, an onion. I'm just gonna cut this off right here. I don't know if you guys know how to do this. And you just take the skin and you literally peels right off. Put that on the other side. I don't know, what do you think? Chunks? We'll do some chunks. How's that? Very sharp knife. Make sure mom and dad are doing this with you. They can probably do the cutting. You could probably throw it on in. I think the next thing that they did have was carrots? No. Celery. Celery. I don't know. What do you think? Maybe 3, 4? We'll do 4. And most of my stuff here is actually organic, so I don't mind the bugs. You may mind the bugs. I'm just gonna stick all of these together, chop them up. The best thing about soup is nothing has to be perfect. And I mean, I've tried it on all 5 of my kids, but you literally just cut some chunks and we'll cut that up, throw it in. Next thing, carrots. Now these carrots are organic, and so I'm not going to wash them. You guys may think that's crazy, but in all honesty, all the stuff that goes into the ground, and it's pretty natural. So I'm not a big deal. It's not a big deal to me. But you see these guys? Stick some water and they'll start regrowing again.
And you just stick them in the ground.
So I'm gonna give those to Olivia because she's going to restart those again. And you just cut off the edges. I'm gonna cut them off, discard those. It's not a big deal to me. If it's a big deal to your mom, she can peel them for you guys and do all those kind of things. But I'm not gonna do that. It's not a big deal. Because, you know, after all, they just took them out. Do you think they got the carrots from underneath their beds? Remember it said they took their vegetables and hid them under the bed? It's kind of funny. This is a potato. This is called a white potato. And the skin is really thin, so I don't have to peel them. It's my favorite. The white ones or the red ones, because you literally just take them and cut them up. Throw them in. I'm going to do a lot of potatoes because I like potatoes. I'm a pretty big fan of papas. Maybe... as long as everything is kind of the same size, that's really what you're looking for. There was something else that they put in here.
Barley.
They put barley. And Miss Gina is gluten-free. Otherwise, I have issues. So instead of doing barley, I'm going to do quinoa. But I'm going to wait because this is already cooked. I'm just going to wait and throw it inside the soup. But you would just open it, throw it in. You could even use the grains without it being cooked and throw it in there while you're doing the soup now. But since it's cooked, I'm going to wait. Another thing, let me do one with Papa. Another thing that I am going to add, this is the cream, but I'm not going to add the cream. And instead of water, I'm going to use two different things. This right here is chicken bone broth. It's a little richer. And vegetable stock. So I'm going to do like half and half with those two things. I also am going to throw in a can of tomatoes. You could do petite diced tomatoes. Those would be perfect. I don't have those, so I'm going to use that. And another thing I really like inside of the soup is parsley. They have these little flat leaves. They smell really good. If you want, you could throw corn in there. I just put that out here for an option for you, but whatever. Whatever you guys like in your house. My house, we eat everything. Literally.
Except for Mom.
Except for Mom, yes. Mom does not eat everything. I don't know if you can hear in the background, but Hesperia High School is doing their graduation and they're honking and yelling. So it's pretty cool. I live right behind the high school, so. I'm going to throw the tomatoes right on in. No big deal, nice and whole. And I'm going to use this can to throw all my trash in because, you know, it's easy. Nice. Okay, so let's throw this in. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to throw it on the stove. Put some bones. You see how rich? Ooh, yummy. That looks really tasty. I do the mixture because it gives a little bit more flavor. One thing we didn't add, salt and pepper. Salt and pepper. So I'll do that right before I put it on the stove. Mix that up.
Toby sniffing it.
My dogs are like loving the smell of all of this stuff. Okay, so that's half and half of each carton. I'm gonna take just a bunch of parsley and I'm just gonna rip it right off, just like that. I just do fine chop. I mean, I could do it really fine, but sometimes it's nicer to have big chunks. And, oh, they brought me salt and pepper. There's some salt. I don't really know how much salt. I don't know how much is in each one of those. But there's some salt. Pepper. I really like pepper. I'm a pepper fan. Oddly enough, I don't eat salsa. But I like pepper. Thank you, Olivia. And, oh, last thing. This is garlic. They didn't add it in theirs, but I honestly cannot do any dish without garlic because garlic's amazing. And it kills bacteria. What else wouldn't you want? Sorry, it sounded really loud, but it's not really. You just bang it a little bit and then it takes this little jacket off. Although my table is not as sturdy as my counter inside, so Oops, it's flying all over the place. There we go. See, and it comes right out. And I'm literally just going to smash it. Watch your fingers, Olivia. Yeah. I love garlic. So good for you. Beneficial. Cream. In we go. Nice and rich. Do you see that? This is actually heavy whipping cream. I'm okay with like the heavy fat stuff, but I'm not okay with milk. So I threw that in. I'll take this in. We're gonna do this as well. Put the lid on, let it cook. About 25 to 30 minutes. I am not throwing meat in. Remember, if you put raw meat in, it might take you maybe roughly around the same time, about 30 minutes. And it'll be perfect. And that's it. There's your stone soup. I hope you guys get to try it with your family and enjoy. I miss you all. Have a good day, guys.